Welcome back to Cody's podcast. With me today, I'm going to make you say with your mouth full, Niaz, how are you?
Oh,
you must talk now.
You're delicious.
Yeah, me and you sounded like that once before with me, but we won't talk about that on the air.
When I ate the foie gras.
No, that wasn't what I was
You
talking
dirty
about.
motherfucker.
You're welcome. You're welcome in advance, dude.
False.
And then Chef Mao, man. Well, it's still looking good over there. It's been like an hour and you haven't faded once, dude.
No, I'm good, dude. I'm good. I got up at 9:30, man. Yeah.
That's good. You got some sleep?
Yeah, exactly. My therapist was like, hey, can you make it to an 8 o'clock appointment? I'm like, dude, I'm in the restaurant business. I'm not going there in the morning.
8 o'clock in the morning? You're like, only if I stay up all night?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wait, I quit drinking. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to be that way. And now with my little one and everything and another little one on the way, I'm up at like 5 because now that's the only quiet time I get. And I think my body just goes, hey, it's 5:30, 10, I get up. I don't do anything. I'm like, I'm productive like to myself. I like do what I want on my phone or watch the news repeat itself and stare at the wall. But like that time is the only quiet time in my life.
No, but that's good time for you. That's good for your brain,
It's
man.
crazy, man. And that, it came with not partying so much, obviously.
Yeah.
Like I stopped being up all night with whiskey hangover in the morning. And so 5 o'clock was actually good versus really shitty.
Really horrible.
The time you wake up versus the time you're falling.
There's certain things I miss about partying, and that is not one of them. Although I was talking with a chef friend of mine who also kind of throttled back quite a bit. And the one thing I do miss about that is I love waking up, especially like doing a Coachella party, like waking up with a hangover and like getting those 2 beers in you and knowing that you just have to show up. Like it's like a combat moment. Like I feel like I'm about to die and okay, cool. Let's just get a shot of JMO and like a Modelo tall can in me and I'm good to go. Let's frickin' rock it.
We used to do festivals like that. People would like actually bring us up. We did the worst one ever was the Avocado Festival, which is up north. Me and my buddy Andy Butterwick and a few other people went up there and we set up basically our booth. We were doing fried avocados with like, I don't know, corn salsa and green, whatever. We were selling for like $6 a half avocado or something. Highway robbery. But it was tasty and it was Avocado Festival. And then next to it, I set up a booth to sell skewers to the people in line waiting for the avocados because they told me I couldn't do anything else. So we did that.
How Darth Vader of you.
Dude, it was so awesome, bro. We made so much money and I don't even know how because I couldn't even like see the morning we started. We went that night and then the guys who were throwing it were like, oh, you guys party? Your bartenders from like Fullerton, man. We party in Fullerton, And this was in Santa Barbara. And they said, oh, you ever been downtown Santa Barbara? And we're like, yeah, we've been here. We lied. We had never been in Santa Barbara. We had no idea. So we go out, and these guys got us obliterated. I mean, and the whole thing was like, we could outdrink you, bro, which is always a horrible stance. First of all, I forget that I'm drinking before I'm done drinking.
And then also they're like, not in my hometown.
Bro, and so they drug us around. The last thing I remember was Andy, we were staying in an RV, and I remember looking out, and Andy was standing at the RV next to us, beating his head on the wall. And he don't remember any of that. He woke with a big knot on his forehead. And the sun was coming up, and I'm like, time to go cook, bro. And so we picked up a fifth of whiskey, and we went and we cooked all day, throwing up in the back. But hey, dude, we cleaned house on some food. And that was cooking life back then, to be able to leave it. I mean, that was like, and that was just what we did.
Yeah, and we had some chefs in Palm Springs where I was working.
How do you even function?
You don't. That's what's crazy is people are like, oh, you got burned. I'm like, I don't know.
There's a zombie at that point.
Yeah, I'm not proud of it. It just was what it was.
We had some chefs not show up one shift. We had 3 call off because they were hungover. And they came in the next day, and I wasn't the exec. I had no role there. I was just on the banquet team.
Right.
And I literally was like, get outside. And I was like, if you can't show up on 2 hours sleep hungover in the restaurant business, you're in the wrong fucking business.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like seriously, like
especially if you're young. Like, come on, bro.
Yeah, exactly. They're all like 24, and I'm like, there's no, oh, I'm hungover. Like, no, you show up for work. Like, it doesn't work like that in the restaurant business. And if you can't, then that's cool. Go work at a flower shop or wherever. Just
here that's part of the game. And what's crazy is, do you think the culture, and obviously, I mean, you divulge whatever you want about yourself, always, but do you think that the tides are turning in that? I mean, obviously, I can't drink anywhere near I do, and my product's better. I used to think my product was great, but I was hammered all the time. It probably wasn't. I mean, now, I think the tides are changing, especially with Sean Brock. His big deal. I mean, he's an amazing chef doing husk. And when he got sober, it was like groundbreaking for the industry. I think that was like 3 or 4 years ago. And he was like the biggest whiskey collector. And, he was known for like running one of the only fine dining Southern cuisines. And he went sober and it was like the place was silent, man. Like people were like, we don't know what to do. And when he came back, his food was amazing, man. Now he's killing it more. Now that they went from 1 location to 6, I think now, 5 or 6, all of them high end, not in the same area. Like, the dude's just rocking. He's down, So I don't know if you think that the scenery is changing now. I mean, it's not.
I think there's an awareness. I'm still kind of not really going quite, full disclosure publicly about my journey.
Yeah. But I just mean with the scene in general.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll talk about a little bit of my journey.
Sure.
I was in a position where I kind of realized that some of my habits were affecting myself personally and professionally.
Which we've all been there, man.
Everybody.
I've been there a couple times.
Yeah, everybody's been there.
You're not alone.
So, considering my family history and a few other things that were kind of playing around the background, I decided, like, you know what, it's time just to kind of pack this one in. And I have no regret, Chef. No one did it bigger and better. It's not a swinging dick contest, but it's just like no one rocked it harder than me. So I honestly feel like I'm at the top of my game, not only physically and mentally, but culturally. The one thing that I can say about my headspace right now with it is I found out that the good parts of me, both as a chef, as a person, I was always a pretty good guy and a pretty handy chef. I found that the good parts of me got way better.
Right.
And I think when I do talk with people about that particular subject, I tell them the same thing, like, hey, A, you're really not going to miss it.
Right.
And B, trust me, it's going to be way better. You're going to be a lot happier. And I'm honestly, I haven't drank in, I don't know, a year and 3 months or whatever. And I kind of just feel like I'm really getting my stride. I'm doing things like this. My podcast is going great. My writing's going great. I'm opening a new restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm back on Team Disney doing photography. I'm way more present in my personal and professional life. And that idea of presence, Ben, the bar manager, where I was working at Marty's for a little while, he had a great quote, and I'd heard it from some old time bartenders before, and I love taking these things away from some people I work with. But he said, you don't have to be fast, you just have to be present.
Right.
And it was just a casual comment. We were just talking about the bar business.
But he's 100% correct.
100% correct. And I'm finding myself more present. And I tell young chefs that now, too. Like, hey, you don't have to be the best guy in the house. I'm a Henry Ford guy, chef. I don't have to be, and you are too. We've talked about, I don't need to be the sharpest. You talked about
not at all.
You talked about being on a project where you had to come up to the guys on the line. Hey, show me how you do this.
200%. Yeah, I had line cooks teach me how to cook. Came out of culinary school, had no idea. Learned completely backwards. Got my ego smacked. Got kicked in the balls a bunch. Drank way too. I mean, you name it, I was in exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, totally. And that idea of just being present. So I tell young chefs that all the time. Like, just be present. Like, when you're here, just be here. You know what I mean? Like, everything else will kind of fall into place.
Right.
So if you're hungover, if you're distracted, if you got a bunch of personal shit going on at home and you're not present, then and I think there, to what you were speaking of, I think there's a cultural awareness now of the downside of some of those things, and thankfully that conversation is being had. I'm not much for even the idea of like, well, we need to have a conversation or whatever. Culturally,
no.
But at least people are talking about it now, because it's not what this isn't the Rat Pack days. But
not at all.
Things have consequences, and as soon as you learn to deal with those consequences, both personally and professionally, the better off you're going to be. So yeah.
No, I agree, man. I think that the industry itself is coming to a halt. I mean, everybody's talking about, and I think Anthony Bourdain brought that all to light, how crazy the kitchen was, because there was a time when we were really working 90 to 100 hours a week, and that was just what the kitchen was. And I think it's getting more defined for quality of life versus the business, when there was none when I started. Nobody cared about quality of life. You cooked, and then in your off time you had a life, and that's what it was. Nowadays, I don't treat my employees that way. I'm like, look, man, I need you to be here. Do you want 5 days, 6 days? What do you need to live? And then I want you to go home, and I want to not bother you. And that really didn't exist when I first started cooking. When I was cooking, somebody had a 40-hour work week. They still worked 60 hours. They came in early. They left late. They clocked in and out when their clock was.
It was just expected.
That's just what it was. You didn't have to say it. Like, if they didn't do that, they didn't stay. And that's what I had to do when I came out of culinary school and did whatever. Of course, I went backwards when I finally learned how to cook and got into cooking areas. That's what it was. It was, dude, I know that we start at 9, but I got to get there at 6. I want to make sure that this is taken care of, that's taken care of. Still hungover. Drink some before you got to do whatever you got to do. Make sure during service you're good. Stay late. If we got to cut labor, you let somebody go. You did their job for them to make sure that we could still have a job. Not that you could get paid more. You could still have a job. And and those things, I just think quality of life and work relationships, they definitely are different now. And so when we used to get off of work, we'd do like an 18-hour day, and you're like physically beat, mentally beat, and right on the other side of the wall is a whole wall of booze. And you're like, you know what, man?
Time to relax.
Time to relax. And that was you work hard, play hard, right? And I just see the scene kind of going a little more family-esque, a little more. It's not, we haven't jumped off a cliff or anything yet, but the business itself is definitely taking a turn. And the more powerful chefs I see now are way more collected than they were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, man.
And me and other chef Cody
right.
Requejo, we're just, talking about this on our little podcast, and we would talk about it a lot personally too. Like, is there some nobility to that?
Right.
What's this idea of self-sacrifice in the restaurant business? Like, somehow you're more worthy of your plating or your restaurant or the people around you because you're willing to to go the extra mile, and what does that cost you in your personal life? I mean, I like having a schizophrenic professional life. I like being able to go to the mountains, and
Right.
that's the idea as an executive chef, and even when this new project that I'm doing in Palm Springs, like I'm kind of hiring a bunch of people that don't really know how to cook that are kind of interesting, and I'm not going to hammer them with being there 70 hours a week,
Right.
but like I'd rather have a dynamic, eclectic workplace and have cool people around me that maybe I could show people how to scramble eggs, whatever, it's fine. But that idea of having people that are, I think personal dynamicism is coming more into play in the restaurant business, where people's outside experiences and how they reflect on what they do on the line make them more valuable employees as opposed to just showing up. I guess that's what I'm kind of getting at.
200%. Yeah, I mean, maybe before you were a Satien, you were a chef too. You were a cuisine, chef de cuisine, and then I never even got called by my name when I was externing at all. I got called by the position I was in, even though I'd be like, "It's Cody." They don't give a shit.
Yeah,
and if I didn't show up on time, and then on time was an hour early, my stuff was gone. It was by the back door. Don't come in. And that's just how it was, man. That was the work ethic I got. That's why when I got into catering, everything was crazy, man. It was 100% bury my head in the sand and take my lashings until I was strong enough and bold enough and ballsy enough to like take my head out and go, fuck a you.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fuck a you. I'm going to tell you what to do now. And, and that also bites you in the ass, right? I mean, so on both sides of it. And my main focus when that all came down was to party hard when it was done. So that reputation followed me. And then now we battle the other side of it. And honestly, food's gotten better. Everything's gotten better. And, my life's better. I got kids and a wife that likes me. That's good.
Yeah,
That's a positive thing.
Yeah, and how do you? This is part of my challenge we talked about when we had coffee. Like I was, and you were the same way. Like I was the guy at the bow of the boat, like George Washington with the sword, leading the charge across the frickin' whatever river to rescue the guys at frickin' Valley Forge. Like I was the guy leading the charge when it came to dinner with Dave and Coachella and Memphis and like let's party, guys, let's go.
Yeah, 100%.
And then how do you? I didn't have to reinvent myself. I just had to plug myself back into that culture in a different role. And we spoke about that
200%.
at coffee. Like, how do you, what does that look like as a chef? Like, can people automatically projecting things from the past on you that they expect from you, even if those things aren't healthy for you? I don't know. Yeah.
No, I can tell you 100% that happens to me all the time. I hear all the time, oh man, I hear these stories about you back in the day. I'm like, oh, those are 100% true.
But that's
like,
back in the day.
Yeah, but they're like, but you're so mellow now. I'm like, well, I am mellow now. And they're like, yeah, but it's not the same. I'm like, dude, it's not the same. And those stories are true. And I'm still here today. So I apologize. Like, I don't know what else to tell you, but that was the path that led me to where I'm at. And, some people like it, some people hate it. And we trudge on. And like you said, I just plug myself in differently now than I used to. Right? When there's a problem, we're not like, oh, we're going to stay out. When we celebrate, we're not going to the bar and partying. We're celebrating. My look, man, here's what we're going to do. This is our time off. This is what we get for it. We get new equipment. We get new toys. We celebrate things in different ways other than just getting plowed.
Well, let me ask you guys a question. Both longtime chefs. What is the if you can't be cooking in a kitchen forever, what is the next evolution of like this generation of chefs to you guys? Because like within the next 10 years, how many chefs of your guys' age want to be line cooks?
No, I'm done now, right? Like as far as the line cook goes, it's too hard. It's a young man's game, I think. And obviously we talked about this, but I'm not. I mean, I love throwing pans. Don't get me wrong. I love it, dude. There's something about in the heat of the battle, something about whatever. But I cannot any longer physically do 5-6 days on a line and be like stoked on it and be a face of a restaurant and or be on the social media and or be creative and or it's like you got to pick your battle, I think, and this is a young man's game, a young lady's game, young man's game. I got more female cooks now than I do male cooks, and they're badass, right? But the thing is, they're all young, they're all learning.
Shout out to Reese.
Yeah, Reese, Jackie. I just ordered Shayla. I mean, they're all just crushing it, but they're all young, and that's their thing. And I think at where I'm at, I want to teach them, and I need to pull myself out of the line in order to be creative enough to keep those wheels that are now ADD, right? Like the younger brain moves a lot faster than our brain did, I think. And to keep them inspired takes me full time going, okay, cool. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this podcast. We're going to do things that constantly are influxing that space with new positive energy. Just things going on that are about moving forward, right? Even though they have the same station every night. And then pretty soon they're going to take that and they're going to take what I do, have their own opinion. Hopefully they do the same thing. They inspire somebody else in a group and in a kitchen so that they aren't on the line. And I think that's the progression, at least from what I see, that you hope for, is that you can look back and go, fuck, man, these guys are all killing it. They're all positive. Nobody's, doing blow in the freaking walk-in, right? Like everybody used to do back in the day. And nobody's an idiot, really. I mean, and if you are, you're not going to make it. And these guys are all happy. And they're doing a job that is not easy. And the evolution is to be out in the world, man. Hopefully share your recipes. We talked a lot about going out and freaking giving away recipes, dude, right?
Well, yeah, he has a cookbook coming up, right? You said?
Yeah, trying to get that off the ground. And
what do you think? Yeah, the next evolution.
I like the idea of making myself obsolete, chef.
Right. Well, sure.
I when I know that I've given everything that I can to a person or a situation, and I'm obsolete, they don't need me anymore, then that means I'm ready for the next thing.
That means you won. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and what does that mean? And as far as working the line, I'm an all or nothing guy on it. Like, if you're asking me if I could cook it in some cafe in the Sierra, or like where I work I work the breakfasts up in the Sierras, you know what I mean?
No problem.
Like, it's easy. It's fun. I'm in the mountains. Okay, cool. I do 90 covers on a busy hiker morning through there. I'm just scrambling eggs. It's all or nothing for me. Like, do I want to be working your line here when it's busy? No, not at all. Well, would I probably work some...
No, dude, I'm telling you, it's...
Yeah, would I work some country cafe for $14 an hour and just kind of chill out?
100%.
Yeah, that's easy. Sign me up. Yeah, but my role, especially in this, I wouldn't say urban or suburban setting, that we navigate, chef. Sure. I'm useless. I would be useless to you back there. Now, could I help you design recipes and walk the front of house with you?
100%.
Yeah, sign me up. Yeah, great. I'm your guy. You know what I mean? But
right.
yeah, I would never portray myself as a line cook, and I'm beyond that point in my life. I don't want to do it. I'd rather cater.
Yeah. Somebody told me the other day. They said, "What do you think that? What do you think of the evolution of the kitchen? Like when you get higher, is there like a lower or a higher?" I said, "Oh no, you got this all backwards. Without me, that doesn't work. And if I was never them, I couldn't be me." So there's no above being a line cook or below being a line cook. Those guys are animals. It's like the army, right? You got to have your frontline guys, or the dudes in the boat don't exist, right? It's not like there's no way to put an above or below. It's like this is how the world has to work, and you just find what place you can plug in at what time. And like I said, there's no right equation. But I'm not going to go back and be an everyday line cook, and that's only because I can't. Nor is it beneficial to the establishment for me to be back there cooking. It's just not. I teach people, go away, and then if I did my job right, you can see it.
Yeah, and that's our ideal as chefs. Kind of swinging back to you as a bartender, at 52, I'm 52 now.
Right.
I don't feel like I'm aging out, but chronologically, people probably would make some pronouncements about me based on that figure. You know what I mean? But from bartending, and you've bartended 16-hour shifts.
Yep.
From bartending, like. Honestly, like 10 hours standing on my feet still doesn't feel that long to me.
It's not bad.
Yeah, like I can deal with just fine. Do I want to do it? No, I prefer not to. But physically, in fact, I hopped on the line at this one place real quick, and a couple of the chefs, I had never worked the line. A couple of the line cooks were like, "Oh, wow, holy shit, Dave, you can really work the line." I'm like, "Yeah, I can really work the line. I just don't want to."
Right.
Like, yeah. In fact, I don't want to do well at this right now. I don't want you guys to ask me back. Like,
please don't ask me to do this again.
Yeah, I can do it. It's not, and operationally, it's not for you, chef. You're giving away yourself. I'm giving away myself and my ideas, and that's when you get to that point where A, you can do that, and B, that's value, and C, hopefully you can monetize it. Great. Yeah, sign me up. I'm down for the cause. Yeah,
the evolution of the restaurant, I think it's changed a lot. I know that back in the day everybody used to hide their recipes. I had chefs that they taught you how to make that. There was no recipe. You wrote it down in your book. If you were given that recipe, you were allowed to make it. And if somebody came in and asked somebody how to make something, you did not tell anybody what you knew or didn't know. You were just the one that made that. And the reason was because everybody was afraid of stealing things, or like there was some shun like thing about recipes. I'm more like, let me publish this. I had a lady come in the other day, was like, "Hey, how do you make this souffle?" And I'm like, "Hold on." I went and got the recipe, and I made a photocopy of it, and I went and gave it to her and said, "Go ahead, try it at home, man. Like, here you go." And the whole table was a party of 10, looked at me like I was nuts. And I'm like, "Why? It's, come back, I'll make a different one." You know what I mean?
Even
like,
if she does make it, will she make it the same way?
I mean, it says how to make it right on there. But the deal is I don't think I think the part of giving for food now is just different. Like, I look at my job as I should create something more.
And share it.
Yeah, and share it.
100%.
Like if you can't, you can come here and eat it, and that'll be my way. But if you really can't afford to come here, you really can't do it. I'm not going to neglect you from trying to do that, or do what you can. You don't have a convection oven, so it's going to come out a little different. But if you love it, then I want to give it to those people, man. I want to share those things.
Don't forget that this has changed everything too.
Totally.
What I mean? Like
he held up his phone, by the way, for you guys that aren't on TV land.
Yeah, exactly. So but the cell phone
pointing at me.
And technologies have changed everything. And again, chronologically, I remember I remember the first restaurant I had where I was the guy that pretty much had the only cell phone, you know,
Right.
so I was running there all the time. And, you know, if people can just Google tri-tip marinade, why are you going to try and hide your tri-tip marinade from them? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
you might as well give it to them, and then they say, "Hey, I got this from Cody
Capitalize
at so
on
and
it.
so at blah blah blah." You know, and that word of mouth of somebody else replicating what you do, man, that's a big compliment. Somebody asked me for a recipe that I made that they love, that's mine, that's my original. I'm like, absolutely, I'd love for you to recreate that. That's like, it's flattery to me. It's 100% like a tap on the back. Like, I'm glad you enjoyed that so much. You want to make that,
Totally.
even when I'm not around.
Yeah, and it's good karma, and you know that I hate. It's not that I hate it, but like I like doing nice things for people. Generally, it's my default setting, whatever. And I also understand that there's a payoff in the end.
Sure.
Now that doesn't mean you do those things because you're expecting to get a payoff. You know what I mean? But like,
No, not at all.
but I think if you're genuinely nice, and again, talking about branding yourself as a chef, if the things you do come from a genuine place, that's a long game thing. We were talking about opening restaurants. Do you want to be open for 2 years? Or do you want to be open for 20 years?
Right.
Those are two different things. And that's literally the first conversation I have with anybody I talk to, either advising on a restaurant or that one of my friends is talking about open a restaurant. 2 or 20, pick it. You can be open for 2 and sell. Easy, great. So,
Right.
Hey, Niaz, I got these guys that want to be open for 2 years. Can you run their social media? Whatever. You want a 20-year game? That's a separate conversation with Niaz.
And yes,
Yeah.
both.
Yes.
Send them all to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will. But
By
yeah,
the way, you contact me at.
yeah, and you build
At Knife and Spork.
you build repeat. People think repeat customers are 3-month repeat customers, 6-month repeat customers.
Years long.
Yeah, years long, and you get like at Memphis, we were close to John Wayne Airport. If some guy got up, and I could always tell the guys that were business travelers, they'd sit at the bar, right, and like, hey, where are you from? Oh, I'm from St. Louis. Oh, hey, welcome to Memphis. My name's Dave. I'm one of the bartenders. I'm the bar manager. Hey, let me buy your first Anchor Steam. Okay, and I know that we spent 87 cents on that Anchor Steam
Right.
draft, and they're going to go back to St. Louis and tell everybody how cool Memphis is, and when they land stay at whatever hotel in South Coast.
All it takes.
That's all it takes, and that's not me being a D-bag. That's me being nice, and the universe just making everything work behind that. So, yeah.
100%, man. What do you think, Niaz? What do you think the PR scene's done with chefs? Do you think it's more restaurant-driven, chef-driven now? I mean, it keeps going this like swing between the two.
No, I think it's story driven.
100%.
And I think that within the restaurant and within the individuals who are involved, not just the chefs, the bartenders, the staff, the dishwashers, the people who make it happen behind the scenes, I think everybody involved, there's stories to tell. Everybody has a story to tell, and that every opportunity to put up a social media post is a new opportunity to storytell or to share some element of what you're doing. And so for me, I really look at everything in terms of micro content, and I'm just looking at, what can I convey today?
I think that social media has made the restaurant business much mellower because now people are watching.
Yeah,
To be
100%.
honest with you, I think it had played a huge part. Knowing that before nobody was watching, I got away with a lot.
Well, you were saying, like it's mellowed out a little, and what,
100
what is that?
Dude,
I think that's part of this is that, almost anything you do is broadcast on the internet. So, what?
Not almost anything I do. I'm surprised me taking a dump isn't showing up on
Well,
Sundays.
but I mean, like,
you know what I mean? Like,
there's-
it's crazy, man.
There's
I'm like, that's not even me. Why am I tagged in that? What happened?
but
I know
like-
it looks like a fat bald guy, but what happened?
There's TV shows like
You're
Big
interchangeable, Cody. They're all interchangeable.
Yeah.
There's like Big Brother and stuff where you
Yeah.
can watch people just like living their lives,
Wow.
so. I just think that's where PR is going, and the intersect with that is that you want to find people who are in it for that passion to tell that story, because I think that's how you're going to build audience in the next. People want authenticity. People want behind the scenes. They don't want everything to look polished anymore.
No, I think vulnerability is a personal standard that everybody needs to accept and move on, that our flaws are what makes us better. And I think that's a new thing coming out of this generation, thanks to, Gary Vee saying fuck a lot and doing all that stuff. But believe it or not, vulnerability, I've been, talking about that for 5 years, 6 years, about talking about your flaws and where you fucked up and what that did to you and why it made you better and or it made you worse and what those are, and not like holding those in. But those being exposed now has really made everybody kind of get closer. Right. And I think that social media and podcasts and things like that allow that wall to come down. And the more that I talk about, the failures, the more that I share with people about how I piss people off or whatever, or the people that are mad at me. We talked about haters yesterday and on last week's podcast about how much time I appreciate that haters spend on, on the time they spend hating me versus the time they could spend on their family and friends. And it shows the impact you have for people. And I have to thank them for it, right? We even text about that. I feel like I thank everybody. Just one is, yeah, of course I fucked up. I probably did a bunch of bad shit, but like, It is what it is, man. And I'm
Also,
not that guy now. So
we're adults, right? Like even
I'm not claiming adult
we
ever. Fuck
should
that,
just,
dude.
no, I mean like, but like
Never
even,
gonna happen, Tony.
Even the concept of
Do not put that on the bottom. Cody Storts adult. That'll never happen.
I'm traveling backwards.
Even the concept of haters, like
totally.
It's outdated. Let's leave that shit behind. Like,
well, but it does.
love.
Well, you say. Well, the only reason I say that is like I feel like fame. Like you deal with fame people, and they're like, man, there's just a percentage of people out there, and I've said this forever. There's 10% of the people out there that don't like you.
People want to hate.
But I gotta.
Sure.
The look at it is now. I'm not offended by it. I just share it and go, man, that's really crazy that somebody has the kind of time
to invest their mental energy.
And you have enough time to invest in the fact you hate me is crazy. Like, wow, man. Like, first of all, I apologize if I made you that moved, and second of all, I'm pretty stoked I made you that moved, right? Like I didn't, whatever I did, apparently.
Yeah, you got a reaction out of him sometimes.
I'll take good, bad, or ugly. I mean, it's still, it's PR or whatever you want to call it. But that whole genre of like, of course we're responsible for all our good and bad are going to happen. And I think now everybody talks about it, which is so cool.
Yeah.
Right. And the more you can talk about it, and the more I like get people on here that can talk about it, the better life is going to be for everybody. Because when somebody goes, oh, you fucked up, you're like, absolutely. Let me tell you why and how, and what can you teach me to be better? No matter who you are. I think that's cool. I think that's coming into the restaurant where before it was like, chef said, I'm doing it.
Okay, yeah. I was just following orders. Yeah, that always works.
Yeah, somebody told me yesterday, I'm not responsible. It's not my role. And I said, well, if you're not responsible for having something clean or done in a kitchen in which you work, then you can quit.
But also you're responsible for yourself. So
Exactly. So with that being said, man, this has been a great show. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for coming in.
Thank you, Chef.
And, absolutely. And
Strong Beach.
Yeah, right? And then where we can find you, we've got to do a little business here, where they can find you online.
SoundCloud, Memphis Mondays is me and Chef Cody, other Chef Cody.
Sure.
We got to come up with like secret code for
That's all
Cody.
good, man.
Memphis Mondays is our podcast. We're just
cool.
Just strictly restaurant industry stuff.
Let me know if you ever want me to come down.
No,
dude,
we're on it. I'm down for coming back here too. I love talking shop, man. You have a very agile mind, Chef.
Oh, thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. That means a ton, dude. Trust me. I've heard way worse than that, so I really.
I've seen way worse. Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
right. It happens. So, anywhere else they find you personally, or just on theirs where you want to go?
David X Mao on Instagram, the DXM group, my consulting website.
Awesome.
You'll be finding me out in Palm Springs, landing out there at this new property. I'm not quite. We're not in a position to start naming names or addresses
but it will come.
But it will come, and hope to see you out there. We're going to be doing some really cool stuff. The team's great. We're going to have some great entertainment. A little bit of a. It's going to be quite a. I think it's going to create a little splash out there. So
perfect.
And of course, I would love to host you, Chef, and I would love to host you.
Let's do it.
There,
Consider us done. First week you're in, I'll come out. If you want to do a cast from the show before or something. Tony likes Palm Springs, dude. He's down.
I'm down. Yeah. Hey, bring your stuff. We'll set up before we open. That sounds great. Actually, yeah.
Consider it done, man. I think that stuff is what makes this show different than everywhere else. Is we're not afraid to talk about it, and we're not afraid to do it. So, and Niaz, always, man, your business.
Oh yeah. So at Knife and Spork PR. And you can find my other podcast at I Know But Podcast. Come check it out. You'll be a guest on there soon.
Yeah.
Just trying to space out the chefs, but we'll be on.
I'm not worried, man. I ain't going nowhere. I'm not leaving.
We know
I'm not going anywhere.
If it's this week, next month, next year, this is how it's going to go, man.
Yeah.
And of course, hit us up at Cody Storts on Instagram and at Retired Fat Kid. Check that out as well. And then always at Reckless OC.